Hello everyone, we are back for the next part of our video. And we have our vanilla extract this time. So I have my vanilla extract here and we're ready to get started making the actual cake. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is preheat our oven to 400 degrees. The actual recipe itself says you're going to want to preheat your oven to 400 degrees, but I generally do my oven anywhere between 375 to 400, so you can do whatever works best for you. Then we're going to want to lightly butter a 9-inch springform pan. We have our 11-inch baking pan here because we can't find our 9-inch baking pan, and we're not even sure if the baking pan we normally use is 9 inches, but we're going to use our 11-inch one. And we're going to take some of our butter here that is melted because it's been sitting out for a little while, and we're just going to lightly butter it. So we just get out our butter here. Oh, that's not lightly buttering it. I just smudged it everywhere. That's okay. What I'm actually going to do to remedy this is get out a paper towel and smush the butter everywhere. Make sure the butter gets everywhere in the pan. My pan looks like this, with or not my pan, my baking pan. So my baking pan looks like that, with after I put my butter in. Then the next thing that we're going to do is get out some parchment paper. And what the parchment paper is going to do is that's going to allow us for a nice solid mixture it's going to allow us to have a place to put our baking mixture into. And once I get out the parchment paper, I'm going to put it into my baking pan. Sorry, let me just get out the parchment paper. Sorry, it's disorganized there. I forgot some things. Okay, everyone's forgetful at times. You want to cut out a little more than what you think you're going to need. As I was saying, you want to cut out a little more than what you think you're going to need, because what you want to do is you want to be able to spread it around your baking pan like this, so that you have room to pick up your. Sorry, what was I going to say? So that you have room to pick up your baking pan when you're ready to take it out of the oven or put your mixture in it, and so you don't have to come into contact with the inside of the pan. So as you can see here, right now our baking pan looks like what I have on the countertop right now. Alrighty, now that that's ready, what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of our flour. We're actually going to lightly dust the inside of our flour, or not of our flour, of our baking pot. So we'll take some of the flour we have here, and lightly dust the inside. And we're going to take our hand and just spread it around the outside as well. Up our hand, and then now we have a lightly floured baking pan. I quite like this. So now we're ready to move on to the next step. It's dusted. So now we're going to start melting. So now we're going to finally chop our chocolate. But before we do that, we're actually going to want to prepare a next step. We're going to want to start heating a pot of water. And you might ask yourself, Christopher, why are we heating a pot of water? Well, you're heating a pot of water in order to melt your chocolate so it glaze. for not for the glaze, sorry, for the actual cake itself, the cake mixture. And then you might say, but Christopher, why do we need hot, or in this case, warm water to melt the chocolate? Great question. Well, you're going to need the warm water to melt the chocolate because what we're going to do is we're going to put our finely chopped chocolate in the bowl here. So that was just my chapstick. We're going to put the chopped chocolate into here over the pot of water, so the steam will actually melt the chocolate. I'm going to have this water heating on medium-high heat, or we'll do medium heat for now, but not simmering. But you don't want this boiling either, so you don't actually lose the water itself. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to actually start chopping that chocolate, and that's 4.5 ounces. So this chocolate bar here is 72% cacao. You want bittersweet dark chocolate. The actual recipe itself that I found on the internet recommends a specific type of chocolate called Valrhona chocolate, but any type of bittersweet dark chocolate will work well. You don't really have to be like too intensely specific on what type of chocolate you buy. Just make sure it's bittersweet, and the cake will turn out great. Fork. Then now we're going to start finely chopping this chocolate. This is 3.5 ounces. So we need 4.5 ounces of chocolate. So two of these together, 3.5 plus 3.5 is 7. So we'll need a little of that next bar that I have at the top. But for now, I'm just going to chop up my chocolate that I have here. And then we're going to put it in the bowl when we're all done. So right here, I'm just continuing to chop up my chocolate. And then we're going to transfer the finely chopped chunks over to the pot for melting. If you can see already in my hands, the chocolate's starting to get a little sticky already from being out. A little imitation. Let's leave that out on my hand. Alrighty. With one chocolate bar chopped. Alrighty. So if it's 3.5 ounces to 1 bar, that means 1.25, that means, so I'm trying to think and do the math in my mind. That means half of this would be close to what we need, or maybe a little less than half. I think I'm going to go with a little less than half. Sorry, what I'm actually going to do here is whip out my phone quickly and do some math. have in my pocket. That's right. So, math and cooking time. 3.5 divided by 2 is 1.75. 1.75 plus 3.5 is 5.25. Okay, so what's 4.5 minus 3.5? It's just 1. So we're going to need, like, if this is 1.75, we're going to need 3/4 of one of these cubes. So 2 of these cubes equal a whole bar. We're going to need a little over. We'll need a little under half. That. That. And then we'll leave that there. You could do this in a microwave to melt this chocolate, but my mom taught me how to do it with the boiler method. If these chunks aren't the most finely chopped, that's okay. Mine aren't here, but I'm still going to put them straight into my bowl and get ready to melt them. You see them as soon as they hit the pan already, they're starting to melt. Move this to the side for a second. Wash my hands. My mom always taught me about this trick in cooking. It's called cleaning as you go. So as you cook, you clean up. Well, not the minute you cook, you clean up, but as soon as you're done with a step, you immediately try to clean up as much as feasible, or what's realistic. And then you move on, and then you continue your cooking. Alright, what's our next step? So once this is actually melted, which it's really starting to progress quite nicely. What we're going to do is also remember, you're needing an oven mitt to touch this. So what you're going to want to do is check to make sure your water isn't boiling. And the reason you don't want your water to boil or at least be at a rolling boil, is because you don't want to lose your water. So once this melts more, we're going to keep stirring it. Sorry folks, just give me one more second. I'm going to recheck my recipe on the internet. But as you can see, our chocolate is actually melting quite nicely right about now. I see. But the first thing before we can do is we're going to start stirring our chocolate now that it's melted more. And we're going to stir this often until it's cool. So as you can see, the rate of our chocolate meltiness has significantly gone up. At first there were just some chunks that started melting, but now it's just full on like melty town. And I am all for melty chocolate. I love that. Look at that. That just looks absolutely glorious. So once these last little lumps of chocolate are melted, what we're going to do is we're going to turn the heat off. We're going to move this to the table, and we're going to let this, or the counter, and we're going to let this cool off. We still recording? We are. That's good. Very good. Very good that we're still recording. All right, now all this chocolate is melted, and we're going to take it off the heat and move it to the table. We'll also turn the heat off on our water. And now we're going to continue stirring this until the chocolate actually cools. Still warm. We're going to keep stirring this till it's cool. Move the camera over here. I'm still wearing an oven mitt just in case. It's still a little warm. It's going to cool down. But we're just going to continue stirring. Still a little warm, but it's getting cooler. So hot, they want the entire pool. Stir off until cool. Bright side, I think the chocolate mixture is cool now, so I think we should be good. Leave that there, and then move on to our next step. I'll use an oven mitt to move my chocolate back onto a burner that is not on. Okay. Move our chocolate mixture back in there. On to our next step. Now we're going to beat our 9 tablespoons of butter into a heavy-duty stand mixer with the paddle blade on medium-high speed until it's smooth, which is going to be about a minute. Here's my 8 tablespoons of butter, nice and soft. Oop. In order to actually start getting my paddle blade, I'll just get my knife. And then scraping that down. What you're gonna find comes in really handy during this baking process is having a little knife that you can use to scrape down the sides. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a bit. But it's gonna come in really handy. So always make sure you have an extra knife with you. Then we'll put in our extra tablespoon of butter, as the recipe calls for. There. Get it as we go, making sure no butter spills. And then we're gonna move on over to our stand mixer. Now you don't necessarily need a stand mixer to do this, but it really, really helps. There we go. And in the right setting before. Lock my bowl in like that. Get an extra paper towel. Wipe that. Is that cupcake mix? Not sure what that was. Want to fit our paddle bowl right on there. Or fit our paddle mixture right on there. There we go. Lock it. Put it on medium-high speed for about a minute or until about smooth. This is going to go for about a minute. That's smooth. We're going to unlock it for a second. We're going to take our aforementioned knife from earlier and take that paddle blade, take it to our paddle blade, and then scoop all that buttery goodness right back into the pot. It will not escape your cake. You see that butter right there that tried just to cling to the paddle, trying not to get cooked in our wonderful oven that will make our chocolate, cake? No, it is not going to escape. There we go, that's in there. Wonderful. Moving on to the next part. We're going to beat in our confectioner sugar on low speed. You're going to want 1 cup of confectioner sugar. This right here is a cup pre-measured. In it goes. Oh, that came out really perfectly. Look at that, there's almost nothing in there now. Then we're going to beat it on low speed for about 2 minutes. Or I don't know, we're just going to beat that in. It doesn't give a specific, the recipe doesn't give a specific time. We're going to put it on low speed, beat that in. Not really too fast, just nice and slowly. Just let it get all nice and incorporated. I should have shown you what the smooth butter looks like. It's okay. Alright. Stop that. And then this is what my mixture looks like as of now with the sugar beaten in. you'll notice the powder almost entirely disappears. But what you will notice that we still have some of that naughty mixture that sticks to the paddle, which is immediately getting put right back in. Get back in there. And then stuff that's trying to escape the side of the bowl, like you have everything. It's just trying to escape. It is getting cooked. And then there's a really smart mixture that hides out on the other side of the paddle so that it thinks that I won't remember where it is, or that I won't see where it is, but I do see where it is. And there's even some that hides out on the sides of the bowl that you don't check. So what you want to do is you want to clean everything out, and just tap your knife and then put it right into your bowl that will get beaten, everything beaten into it. Now at this point, what you're going to want to do is start beating your egg whites in. Now your egg whites will most likely be nice and liquidy. Mine have started to set a little bit because I've left them out. But what we're going to do is we're going to lock this and return to medium-high speed and start beating in our egg whites. At one at a time. You don't want to do all the egg whites all at once. That's one white. This is my second white. Not my white, my yolk. Sorry. Not my white, my yolk, my egg yolk. Do not beat in the egg whites at this point. Nice and really nice and unbroken. Second one is beaten in. In the third one goes. Third one is beaten in. In my fourth one goes. Make sure your knife doesn't get caught in the blades. Now it's my fifth one. Now onto our sixth yolk. Out my 3 bowls with the eggs that were paper bowls. Now we want to get out our teaspoon measurement cup. And we want to beat in our chocolate and vanilla now at this point too. So what I'll do is I'll get out my half teaspoon, half teaspoon of vanilla, 2 half teaspoons of vanilla extract. I also love the smell of vanilla extract. It's very good. I love it. Now we're going to stop that for a second. Unlock our stand mixture. And before we beat in our chocolate, we're going to take our handy-dandy knife, as we have here, and then start scraping down the sides of the bowl. Can't get it unlocked just yet, but here it is. Here's what the inside of my mixture looks like right now. You see how we have all this residue right here? What we want to do is we want to scrape down the side of the bowl, meaning that we take our knife and scrape all the mixture that's not immediately at the bottom of the bowl, and we put it right at the bottom. And don't forget about those naughty paddles either. You'll see at this point mine's starting to get really dirty. That's because my egg whites were sitting out for a little bit, and they solidified a little bit. But if you do yours with really, really liquidy egg whites, they are not egg whites. I keep saying whites. Egg yolks. Then they will. What was I gonna say? Then they will create much less mess on your stand mixture. All right. Don't be overly concerned if you can't get everything on your paddle into the bowl. Just get the vast majority of stuff that you can put in it. There we go. Now comes one of the other fun parts. We're going to beat in the chocolate part of the mixture. So, we made all this nice melted chocolate. Now we're actually going to use it. So we're going to put it right into our mixture like so. Alright, so this chocolate is going in. If you want to have some for yourself at this stage because it's cooled off, you definitely can. But don't have too much. Only have like a little fingerful. Just dip your finger in and have some. I'm not going to right now. But before I start beating, I'm going to take a little paper towel and just dab up some of the chocolate that was the byproduct of the pouring process. I'm gonna beat this at medium high speed. And it smells amazing too. So now we're gonna turn that off. Medium high speed for just a second more. There we go. All that chocolate is in. Look at that. But as you can see, we still have the naughty mixture that is sticking to the paddle, and that will not be tolerated. We're just going to scrape. Always remember to scrape down the sides of the bowl. And always remember to ensure that we have, you take your mixture that's at the sides of the bowl and scrape it down. And the back of the paddle. Make sure you get everywhere. You don't want any of this good stuff to go to waste. I got this recipe from epicurious.com, their Sachertorte recipe. And I made this once before, so I'm real excited to be bringing it to you guys, or once or twice. I'm really excited to be bringing it to you guys again. Here's what my mixture looks like so far. There's still a little bit of egg yolk that's visible that you can see in there, but that's going to get beaten in a second. If you have any unstraggling material that's been falling off your knife that hasn't been beaten in, just take a minute to beat it in quickly. And then we're going to be ready to move on to our next step. It's locked in. Lock. Beat that in nice and quickly. There we go, that's done. Then if you need to, you scrape down the sides of your bowl again. As I do. I'll quickly do that. Get the material on the paddle as well that's being naughty. Sorry, this won't lock. Let me just put this down for a second and rinse off my hands. And put that back in. You don't have to do that, but just make sure we avoid anything spilling out. Put that back in for a second, lock it, and then we'll leave that there for a little while. But now we're moving on to our next step. We're going to be beating the egg whites and the sugar now, because we still have egg whites. Alright. I'm going to get prepared for our next part of the operation. Pardon all the clunkery. I'm just getting out the right bowl for the job. This big one. Then we need to get out our hand mixer. Alrighty. Alrighty. So here I am preparing our hand mixer. We are going to beat in our egg whites and granulated sugar. There we go. Again, pardon all of the clunkery, as now we are starting to get our hand mixture together. Still recording, this is great. And what we're going to do is we're going to beat the egg whites and granulated sugar to a large bowl. So all of our egg whites in. These are the egg whites, not the yolks. So we get all that good egg white out of our bowl and into our little, or not into our little, or into a big bowl. And then we're going to get a half cup of granulated sugar out of our, sorry, not a half cup. My apologies. No, it is a half cup. Sorry, we're going to get a 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, 2 of our 4th cups out, and we're going to beat it into our egg whites. 1/4 cup. 2/4 cup makes 1/2 cup. So now what we're going to do is we're going to whip out our mixture and put it on high speed and start beating this together until it forms stiff peaks. Sorry. I'd say a little more. Now we're at stiff peaks. You'll know it's at stiff peaks when you take it and it starts to froth up and it starts to stick to your mixer like that. I believe so. I believe that's stiff peaks. Yeah, I mean, I see more picture-perfect stiff peaks, but the recipe makes a specific request that we don't overbeat this, so we're not going to overbeat it. Beware of collateral spillage should you do this. So now we're going to stir about 1/4 of our little egg white mixture and sugar mixture over here into our nice and chocolatey mixture. So do one last final scrape down the sides like you've never scraped down the sides ever before. Little spillage. Then we're going to take, now that our sides are successfully scraped down, everything off the naughty paddle mixture that will be salvaged has been salvaged. What we're going to do is we're going to stir in 1/4 of our egg white mixture. I'm going to use the same, I'm going to get a different stir paddle thingy. Or a different spatula, then, sorry, I'm gonna get a different spatula and then my, only a little bit. That was more about 1/3 than 1/4. You're supposed to stir in 1/4 of the mixture to lighten it, like so. It certainly is getting lighter, I will say that. There we go, now we have that traditional sticky consistency. And if you look, it's like that. Even though you can't really see very well, it's like that consistency. I'm sorry for the lack of clarity. Now you're going to say, but Christopher, we have these other beautiful egg whites here. And that's right, you do. So little by little, we're going to fold them in. And to fold, that's a fancy baking word. You say, Christopher, I've never ever folded in my life anything that's not closed. And that's a great point. So to fold, you're just going to do this. Oh, this is going to be so unclear, I'm sorry. But you're going to do that, then turn your spatula, and then make it face down like that. Fold like that. Sorry, it's very clunky. very sorry. It's just I want to make sure I followed everything correctly. Ah, that's right. We have to sift in our flour. Ah, that's right. The flour does come in next. Sorry, I hadn't forgotten anything. It's okay. It's that first, I was wondering, because this isn't looking very doughy just yet, but first we have to fold in our egg whites. Sorry for the quick delay of confusion. So we fill in our first egg whites. We're just going to repeat, rinse and repeat for the rest of our egg whites. Do it in 2 more stages for me. Give it a little stir. Then we'll stir in the last bit of our egg whites, the sugar mixture. Ensure everything gets out. Now that our egg whites have been folded in, that took significantly less time than the rest. We're going to, or that batch, we're going to start sifting in our flour. We're going to need to get out a sifter. If you don't have access to a sifter, that is okay. But we're going to do it for our mixture. So what we're going to do is we're going to sift half of the flour. Yeah, it's roughly half, I'd say. We actually did pretty well. We'll sift in half of our flour. I'm going to start folding it in. Sorry, just give me 1 second. There we go. We have to fold it all at once. Now that we've sifted the first half in, we're going to do our favorite folding process again and fold in that flour. There we go. Now we're going to sift in the other half of our flour. Sift. Here we go. Then we're going to do our favorite folding it out of the flour again. Oof. And now all of our flour has been sifted in and folded in as well. And this is what my finished mixture looks like so far. Like that. Nice and floury and doughy and wonderful. So we will be coming back soon to actually do something with our mixture and put it into our baking pan. And then we're going to be putting it in the oven and then making our glazes as well. So stay tuned for the upcoming parts. There we go. But before we sign off from this video, we have to do everyone's favorite thing again. We're going to scrape down the sides of the ball. So you're going to take a second knife and take a lot of our mixture and start scraping down. Like we always do. I apologize for the bad sound. But it's worth it. I, for one, like all my glorious cake mixture to be in the bottom of the bowl when I actually start to use it in the pan to cook it. Here we go. Well, everyone, I'll see you in the next part.